Hello, mystery writers. This is Write a Killer Mystery. I'm Zara Altair, author of the Argolicus Mysteries, and today we're going to talk about getting on site in your scene settings. You want to get your reader into your story, and bringing each scene to life depends on details, and it isn't as enough to say that your hero is in the kitchen or out on the street. You want to get the reader to feel the setting. So the way that you do that is to use details. So after you've done your location setting, scouting, you know where your characters are, and giving that location detail will take it from your head into the reader's understanding of the story. So, first, you want to get to that space. So, I highly recommend that before you start the scene, you review the images that you collected during your location scouting research. And this will help you visualize the place as you write. So, I talked about location scouting a few episodes ago, and I have a link in the description about going out and finding your scenes. So, and also if your images are scattered and hard to find, I talked about Plotter a couple of episodes ago, and it's a story planning app, and it's perfect for collecting your images where you can organize everything. And there's a places section, and that's your settings. And then you're able to organize your images and tag them according to scenes or chapters. Um, so it's really easy to find the images that you want for a particular scene. Okay, so back to getting on site in your scene. So, outdoor scenes will have physical elements like buildings and trees and cross streets and protruding rocks and glass front buildings. Um, and you want to give your reader a sense of place in your story. And the way that you do that is to scatter the sensory images in the scene, and those pieces work to keep your reader grounded and enliven the sense of the setting without slowing down the story. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So as you're looking at your images, choose a detail. Choose one or two details for each scene, and those are going to add vibrancy to that scene. Give your reader a sense of place, like where they are, where your characters are in the story. So, and it's really just the details is all you need. So, a suspect sort of unconsciously rubs his foot across the parquet floor, or your sleuth sees herself reflected in the stainless steel um, refrigerator in a kitchen. It doesn't matter. It's just those little tiny details, usually just one sentence, are enough to help the reader understand where they are. Um, so your characters don't feel like they're floating in space. That's what I call it. When you really don't have a sense of where you are according to setting. So, with those details in a mystery, you can also foreshadow a mishap by mentioning an object that will trip up your sleuth later, um, or also a rock on the side of the trail your truth slips on, trips on in a chase scene. Just add those little details, and it really helps ground your reader to where they are. Another thing that you can do with the details in this setting is reflect a character, reflect their personality. Your sleuth and all the supporting characters live somewhere. And once again, setting details enrich your story by illustrating how a character lives. The housing itself to furnishing details are all signs about that character's daily life and how they lead life. And those are hints to strengthen that character or add dimension to the character. So, is it spacious or cramped? Is it tidy or squalid? Is it modern or antique? Um, the character's space reflects their personality, and in a mystery, a character's outer surroundings can either reflect a personality or mask a hidden trait. So you have a lot to play with when you're writing your mystery and you bring those setting details in. Another thing that setting details can do is hide a clue. So as you look at your images, you can imagine places where you can place those clues. So keys can drop behind a kitty box. You know, there's a note stuck to a refrigerator among, lots of other notes and pictures, and the refrigerator is just covered with magnets and little things. Um, there's street signal that makes someone stop, and and someone's story doesn't make sense because they had to stop for this street signal. Just think about those details as you're looking at your images. Hiding clues is easier when you have the image in front of you. And one other thing that those setting details can do is mirror a theme. Of course, we all know that the major theme of a mystery is unveiling the truth. But lots of times, with depending on your story or the subplots that are involved, there are other minor themes like corruption, um, that can be mirrored in the details. You can have buzzing flies for corruption, or broken fences, or a cul-de-sac, or twisted chains that echo these minor themes. So use a light stroke. Don't be heavy-handed about it, but you can incorporate those theme images into your story. So basically, when you're using the details of your setting, you want to avoid long narrative passages. Keep your reader in the story. That's the major thing you want to do. And what those details you use do is just give the reader a sense of where the characters are in the story. It keeps the readers engaged. So as you practice this technique, you'll discover that you won't need the long narrative passages. All those details are going to give a sense of place to your reader. So you can weave those details in one or two sentences. You don't need those long passages. And you'll be moving the story forward because the emphasis in your prose is on the story and not like, oh, break here while we talk about where we are. You really want to avoid that. You want to just keep those details kind of woven in into the story itself. Um, the research that you do adds verisimilitude, and the details emphasize the uniqueness of that specific place, that specific street, that specific office, that specific kitchen. We've talked about kitchens a lot today. Um, so setting pulls your reader into the story, and the details make each scene come alive. And my suggestion is, when you're writing your scene, is to have one detail near the beginning, one detail in the middle, and one detail near the end of the scene. So as the scene progresses, your reader is assured of the place where they are. Um, as you practice this, you'll come to see how this works. It's just, you can drop in a sentence, drop in a setting detail while the action of the story is um, is going on. So you're not pulling your reader out of the story. You're actually grounding them in the story. That's what the setting details do. They ground your reader. Okay, so it's so important to keep your reader in the story without distracting them. And then once again, I wanted to talk about Audible, who is a sponsor for Write a Killer Mystery. And this week, I was listening to an Audible special edition. You can only find it on Audible. And that was Graham Greene's The End of the Affair. I'm a great fan of Graham Greene. I think when I was, say, 35 or something, I read everything he had written, and I'm just a terrific fan. And this special edition is read um, by Colin Firth. It's just a masterful listen. And of course, Audible has many other soundtracks like podcasts, and it has sleep sleep sessions to help you go to sleep at night. Anyway, check Audible out. There's a link in the description below, and I will see you next time.